Now, what they found out eventually when they brought them into the prison was that those that were designed, those that were selected as the guards, became very oppressive, almost like they were abusing those that were taken as the prisoners. And they found out that those that are taken as prisoners they became sadistic after a while. Like they started breaking and asking to be free. They wanted out of the experiment. Now it became it became so real, that the experiment was designed to take 2 weeks, but after a week, after 6 days, they had to stop the experiment. Now they ended up finding out that it's not about human personality. The identity of most people, the identity played out by most people that are seen, were not a product of their personality, but the product of the structured environment. Now, people often conform to the social role that they have been given. I'm going to talk about something very interesting. There was this experiment that was carried out by a psychologist called Philip Zimbardo. He carried out this experiment in 1971 in Stanford University. The Stanford University basement was used as a prison, and the experiment was called Stanford Prison Experiment. Now, what the purpose of that experiment was to find out what is responsible for human behavioral pattern. Why do some people become very oppressive and almost abusive, and some become unnecessarily submissive even when they don't have to. And the argument went on, but the psychologist Philip Zimbardo decided, okay, let's practicalize this, let's begin to an experiment, and let's find out where if it is true that personality is why people become who they are, or is a product of the structural environment. Is it true that people submit and becoming they ended up playing the role that the social role that they have been given, or is it that who they are is a product of the personality, is based on the personality? Now, when they decided to do this experiment, they wanted 25 guys to volunteer for this experiment. Now, in the process, they ended up finding that 75 people put down their name for the experiment, but out of 75, they ended up choosing 24. Now, one of the things that they found out, they made the experiment look so real. Those that were made the prisoners policemen went to their house, arrested them as if they have really committed a crime, and brought them into the prison. And they found out that people, when the experiment was going on, now these were all guys that had no previous prison record, had great characters. They were all great guys. There was nothing wrong with them in whatsoever way. Now, but they found out that those that had made the guard became very abusive, oppressive of those that had made the prisoner. Now, in the first day of the experiment, everything was still normal, but things started transforming from the second day. Now, those that had made the guard became very, oppressive, pushing those that were made the prisoners, telling them to wash the toilet, almost like going against them in a way that is inappropriate. Now, the moment they start realizing that they had power on their side, they became oppressive. So it wasn't about their personality, it was a product of the structural environment in which they find themselves. It was a product, who they became, who they reflected, was a product of the structural environment in which they find themselves. Now, you look around us today, you look at so many things that are going on, and you look at the life of so many people, and you tend to think the reason why they're not where they ought to be is a product of their personality. Maybe they are not aggressive enough. No, what they find out was that people tend up conforming to the structural environment, to the system in any structural environment in which they find themselves. Now, which is not supposed to be, because ideally your personality is supposed to be stronger than the environment. But what they find out is that whenever people find themselves in the environment, and after once or twice trying to attain certain level of progress, and they find out that things are not working, then they begin to settle for what is going on in the environment. Now, the fact is that your personality should be the thing that should direct whatever you're doing. Now,